Hello everybody. This is Jackie's Journey with Jackie and Hannah.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
We asked you in the last video to ask some questions if you had anything you needed to be clarified from the previous videos, and so we have a few questions here that Mom is going to answer. All right. One question. How did you find the shack?
I basically went to a real estate office and asked them for properties that were probably 100,000 or less, but in reality I knew I needed something 70,000 or less, and which wasn't going to be very many, but there were a couple, and obviously they were not in the best of shape, and they were not anything that a lender would lend on. The seller had to finance it for the first 2 years in order for me to be able to get it. So I started out in a real estate office. I just got a list of houses, and then I went and I talked to the agents, and one agent that I talked to knew the owner, and the owner was from out of state, and it was a situation that he thought there might be some interest and we might be able to do something. So as it turns out, we were, and we did it. And that's how I found it.
Next question. Do you have a home now?
I sold that house, that property down on the beach, but I do have 2 other properties that I am currently renting. So I guess technically I do, but I live in the Middle East, so I'm not in the States right now.
Oh my
Sorry, that's the dog. But yes, I do, but they're rented.
There's a picture that shows a large deck in the front of the house.
It's the one about, was that there when I bought it? Because it looks new. That was new. It was not on the house when I bought it. Actually, there's a little story behind that, because the individual that built that was out of work, looking for work, and I wasn't in the means to hire anybody for any significant amount of money, but he wanted to know if I needed anything done around the house, and he said that he had some old wood from a job. He was a contractor from a previous job, and he could build me a deck for little or nothing, and that would give me some more usable space.
Those are all the questions we're going to answer today.
Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your comments. Very encouraging comments. Remember, the Secret Society turned the porch that was on the far back right side of the house, turned that screened-in porch into a room. So now I have a bedroom. And now that I have a bedroom, there's room for one more. Of course, there's one more that comes along. And tell us, how did we meet Omayra?
We met Omayra through friends in the new church that we started going to. She was a couple years older than me. She was like a sister. She was like a big sister, pretty much. She played basketball, so we could play basketball with her and some other people from the church, and that was something that really drew us together.
Yes, and Omayra was in her last year of school at the high school there that was closest to our home, and the bus that would come near our home would take the students that were going to the high school to that high school. The family that she was living with, and I think it was her aunt, was unable, she wasn't going to be able to stay there anymore. They were moving or something, and so basically I found out that she wouldn't be able to finish school. She was going to have to go back to, she was from Puerto Rico, and she was going to have to go back to Puerto Rico. And so I said, well, you can stay with me. And I said, I don't have more than a sofa. I just got my own room in my house, but you're welcome to stay on the sofa, and you can stay with us and finish school. and that's what she did. And so she graduated from high school, and then she went on and went back to Puerto Rico. And we still remain friends and in touch through Facebook.
Not only that, the crazy lady with 5 kids living in a shack invites someone else to live on the couch.
Yeah, and it worked out great.
It worked out fantastic. So Omayra being in the house really was a help, even though the house was already crowded. Because it was just so small. But having her there when Mom wasn't there was beneficial because she was older, she was able to drive, and she provided that support that we didn't have as an older sibling. Yes, I was the oldest, but to have someone older than me to look up to, it added to it. And she wasn't there long, but it was like it was at the right time. It was at the time that we needed it.
Were you in high school when she was there?
Yeah.
You were a freshman?
I think it was freshman into sophomore year. After Omayra left, that was kind of a turning point for the household. I mean, there were multiple turning points, but it really took us to a whole new level in where we were and how things were in the household. Mom is going to go over that transition. We're skipping a couple years. This turning point really, made a difference.
I believe I started working at the post office around 2000. And after 9/11, I started looking into going back into the military. I was talking with a friend at the time who was considering going back into the Navy Reserve. She had been in the Navy before, and her husband was in the Navy, and she was thinking about going back into the Navy Reserves. And we started talking. So I decided to talk to a recruiter. Well, during that time, we still had Blockbuster, where you rent a video, and I had to take some videos back. So I went to Blockbusters and I was dropping off my video, and there was a little stand on the counter. I just opened the door to put them in the slot, and there was this little rack that said Navy Reserve, we need you, or something like that. And it had a pamphlet and a card. And I was like, okay, what are the chances of that? So I grabbed that, and there was a recruiter there. So I called the recruiter, made an appointment, went and talked to him. And on August the 20th of 2002, I joined back into the military. In February, the Navy Rec Center was where we moved when the shack froze up and we couldn't live in it anymore because it was too cold and none of the water was working, it wasn't draining, it wasn't running, and they had 3-bedroom, they called them bungalows, 3-bedroom houses that used to be military housing, but they rented them out. And in the summertime, you could only rent them for a week, but in the wintertime, you could rent them by the month. But not many people did. But I was in a situation where I needed to. I had just went back in the Navy, so I could, and that's where we moved into. September of 2003 comes along, and who comes but Hurricane Isabel. And Hurricane Isabel was the hurricane before Katrina, and Isabel was a big hurricane that wiped out a lot of the Maryland, DC, and Virginia coastline. And my house was in her path, and we were not going to be able to move. It had about 10 inches of water in it. The neighborhood was completely flooded. A lot of people lost their roofs, lost their houses, and FEMA was down there for a long time doing estimates. So that's how the shack was deemed no longer inhabitable, and that's why I don't have a lot of pictures, because the flooded a lot of my pictures. And when I was trying to go through stuff, it was all moldy and stinky, and I was trying to salvage things. That was the hardest part of going through a flood, and if anyone's ever gone through that, you know what I mean. The pictures are the hardest part. So I don't have a lot of pictures of the shack. I'm still trying to find them. I'm in a position where I can't move back into the house because it's destroyed and it's going to be demolished. I'm going through the process with the insurance company and everything to get the house demolished and another one built. So what am I going to do now? I need a place to live. My house has been flooded by Hurricane Isabel and I can't stay where I'm staying. She loves the camera.
The camera loves me.
Thank you for joining us. Please hit like, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to the channel so that you know when new videos are being posted. And I'm posting twice a week. We're passing our 30-day mark. Woo! Thanks for joining us.
Our next video, we're going on another adventure.
Shack to chalet.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.